So in this short video, I want to speak directly to conservatives who are on the fence about their support for Russia or Ukraine. They're not sure exactly which is the right side to support, and you hear mixed voices. And you know that you can't trust the mainstream media in the sense of that they have some bias. So that leaves you to people on YouTube like me. Now, who am I? I'm just a professor trying to help you understand context in this war, but I'm also a conservative like you. I want you to hear the words of this pastor who is explaining from his own perspective in Mariupol what his life is like, how he processes the war, what the Russians are actually like, and just hear this, because you hear, oh, Ukraine's corrupt, Ukraine's corrupt. Russia's far more corrupt, and Russia lies to us about what their intentions are, what their actions are, etc. So I want you to hear this firsthand. This was sent to me by a Christian friend in Ukraine who wanted me to see this, and I want you to see it.
I'm
Here we go.
Ukrainian pastor. I'm Ukrainian chaplain. 11 my children in front line right now. One of my daughter was killed in Mariupol, in my city. Many my friend was killed. Many my church members was killed. 5 my sons was wounded. First of all, I want to say big thanks for American people, for American nation, for American politics, for staying with us through this Russian invasion. Big thanks from me, from my nation. But second, I want to say, please, don't trust Russian propaganda who say Putin is pro-Christian and pro-family guy. No, he's KGB, demonic leader for demonic system.
Okay, let's stop there for a second. You know that Putin is ex-KGB. Like, we all know that. That's established fact. But he cloaks himself in this garb, this veneer of Orthodox Christianity. I don't know that he really has any solid belief, but he's using the church in order to support his political ambitions. Okay, I said nothing controversial there. He clearly is doing that sort of thing.
This is fighting in Ukraine. This is the battle not about land, not about gas, not about oil, not about language. I'm Russian speaking language all time. I never had problem with this. This is a battle about freedom. Ukraine fighting right now and pay huge, terrible price for freedom. I want to say big thanks for staying with us.
Okay, before he goes on, I want you to ask yourself, now I know that you've heard a number of conservative or Republicans saying things that are pro-Russian, like Tucker Carlson and others, other voices out there. There's a split between Republicans, between conservatives, and mostly conservatives on one side and populists on another, but there's a split in our party. And I want you to think about, when did Russia become the good guys? I'm serious. When did they become the good guys? Ask yourself, set aside what you have heard from the likes of Tucker Carlson and others. Set that aside and ask yourself, do you believe that you can trust Russia? Now, let me ask you this. Russia controls their own state media, and they make sure that they're only putting out the party line. Knowing that, do you trust Russia? Okay. I'm just asking you this because I want you to think through this, because you've heard repeaters like Tucker Carlson and Doug McGregor and Scott Ritter and others who are repeating essentially Russian talking points. I talk about this all the time. And Republicans, it saddens me so much, are just buying this hook, line, and sinker, and I can't understand why. The fight is really for freedom. Ukraine has problems, right? They do have corruption issues, and they're rooting those corruption issues out. But they're trying, as a fledgling democracy, to survive when an authoritarian regime right next door is invading their country, trying to take over at least big slices of that country, if not the whole country. Do you understand? Like, that's what's actually happened. And I want you to understand that we should be on the side of the folks that are fighting for their freedom, that are fighting for their democracy. And like, this is conservative values writ large, but they're overshadowed by the figures that are speaking to this. And by the way, just because Biden is on the other side in supporting that doesn't mean that we should knee jerk. Now, I know some of you think, well, Biden is for this, and that must mean that I'm against it. But slow down. Biden is right about supporting it, but honestly, Biden's been too slow in supporting them. He's been appeasing Putin, not willing to cross these red lines. Oh no, what if Putin is upset about this? What if Putin has been deterring the United States? That's the story of this war so far. We need to support Ukraine because they're a real democracy.
You brothers and sisters, American nation, please don't trust Russian propaganda and stay with us. We really need help for push Russian army from everywhere.
Don't trust Russian propaganda. I can show you time after time after time on my channel where I show you how Russia is lying, how Russia continues to lie, how Russia makes things up and then repeaters lie. And in fact, just this last week, I showed you a clear example of that. Please just look at my channel. I'm telling you, Russia lies. You cannot trust them. Now that leaves you with a quandary. Do you support Ukraine? That's a totally different question. And I would say you probably should. They're the victims in this thing. They're not the aggressors. And I know that some people are going to say, well, it's not our problem. But it wasn't our problem in 1933 when Hitler invaded Poland, but it became our problem. I don't want World War III, but the shortest course to avoid that type of scenario is to keep a tyrant from growing into a bigger tyrant. That's what we're faced with here.
Don't stop. Help Ukraine. Be with us. We will see how this demonic system will break and how freedom from Ukraine will go to Belarus, go to Russia. We will see it. Just inside my city, where 100,000 civil people was killed. I am from Mariupol.
Let me ask you one more question. So he's from Mariupol, where the Russians were just devastating the city. You can tell who the good guys are by how they act. You can tell who the bad guys are by how they act. The Ukrainians are not torturing, raping, murdering innocent civilians. The Russians are doing that to the Ukrainians. That is factually what is happening. Whose side are you on?
Just inside my city, 80% building was destroyed. They killed so many children and women inside my country. Thank you for staying with us. Don't stop it. We will see how light will win. Thanks for all American. God bless America. God bless Ukraine. God bless freedom.
Okay, listen to me. Now I'm appealing to you to go back to your first principles as a conservative. What do you really believe about your own principles? Not what your favorite commentator said about this group or that group. Go back to your principles, listen to what that pastor had to say, and then make your decision from there. Go back into my videos and see what's actually happened in Ukraine. Please, I urge you, just if you are conservative, think through this issue. Thanks for your time and thank you for listening to me.